got a mixing board there.
Yeah, that's fancy.
Okay, we'll call to order the Redevelopment Commission meeting of April 15th. First order of business on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the March 5th meeting. Those were circulated before. Has everybody had a chance to read those? And any comments or questions on those? All in favor? Aye, so moved. Next order are claims approvals. So we have several claims that have been circulated before the meeting. The total was $323,808.45. If there are any questions or comments on the claims? If there aren't any, I get a motion to approve and pay.
I'll make that motion.
All in favor? Aye. So moved.
Yeah, Reedy Financial's not here today, but in your packet is an updated financial. As you know, this year we have several projects in construction, so you may feel like there's a lot of outflow of dollars, but that's as to be expected with the projects in construction. And you will note that we are, as we have talked for several months, potentially in considering a bond issue that would be later this year once we understand some ready priorities and projects. They have identified bond proceeds in the top line that are higher than what you've seen before. And we're continuing to work with Reedy and our bond counsel Barnes and Thornburg to get us in a position to be able to move forward if the commission decides to do that, and the city council here later this year. But we're continuing to move that down the path. But I did want to let you know there is a new number in your plan that is a little different.
Do you remember where that is in the document?
Yeah, so it would be page 7 of 9 of the Reedy Financial. And that originally had been reported in the upper threes, and now we believe with additional capture, we can do a little bit higher with a bond issue if need be.
Okay.
Yeah, I might just mention, we've talked, it seems like a couple of years now, about why that's necessary. And it's necessary because of the expiration date of the main TIF allocation area, which is 2035, I believe. So once we get inside of a 10-year window, it's going to make it very difficult to do any type of bond financing because of bond terms, general bond terms that investors will be looking for. So the 4.7 are based on the projections of what our tax collections will be, over the next 10 years, for example, and what we can, or 20 years, what we can leverage. But we want to marry that up with high priority redevelopment projects that have been part of our capital plan for quite a long time. And it's going to focus on really the same 3 areas that our READY grant program is focusing on. That's housing development, economic development, and placemaking. So quality of life initiatives, which you can see the impact it's having on tourism, beautifying our city, bringing in new investment. So that's why that financing is going to be really important, and we will marry it up with our delay in getting it started so far has just been not lining it up with a true scope of projects. But now that we're in Ready 2.0 and we had submitted 10 projects, we'll go through the refinement process for that, and we'll have a handful of projects that we absolutely need to introduce capital from RDC into those transactions so they won't get done, and marry them up with READY and other grant sources. So that's why that number is always floated a little bit, why we've been talking about it for a couple of years, but we're going to be running out of time if we don't get this in place by the end of the year.
And the other thing is a part of the financials too, that you'll note that we do have selling to Winterwood, that property on the hilltop. We are moving towards late May, June timeframe for closing on that property. They're working on some more detailed drawings and trying to move their project down the path. The mayor and I have met with them recently, reviewed some additional changes they've made to the exterior design, which made some very nice improvements, I think. Wouldn't you agree, Mayor?
Yep.
And so they're moving along in the design phase, and we'll be getting close to a summertime groundbreaking.
And just to reiterate, we'll have another tax draw coming up here in a couple of months, probably be close to $1 million. That will certainly help our cash flow. And anything we do here financing wise, again, just so everybody knows, everybody who is here who might ask, these are revenue bonds. So these are not, direct obligations of the city of Madison. These are redevelopment or revenue bonds to help us promote investment in our community. There's no residential property taxpayer funding of any sort in what we do in our TIF allocation areas. It's all based upon commercial property tax levy.
That's all I wanted to highlight as a part of the financial report today.
Thank you. We'll table,
Yeah, we'll have to table old business if we can. That's not a concern.
all right.
And then new business. So in your packet, you have a deductive change order number 2 for DG Market Mulberry Street District work. We knew, we've had a couple of those, we've had one before, this is a second one. This one is reallocating money out of the original contract for the solar lights and a couple of the electrical commitments we had made. And we'll see some savings from this project that we'll probably have to transfer into the parking lot project on the riverfront. But both of the projects are under construction. This deductive change order is removing some of those items that we aren't doing or have shifted to another contractor.
Okay. Any questions?
So we're still spending the same amount of money, or are we? I mean,
Yeah.
maybe walk us through that, because we have the pay app in front of us.
Yeah, so the original contract, it was $580,000, and when we awarded the project, we did a deductive change order and some value engineering to get that project down to $517,000. This current deductive change order is $148,960. That pulls out the electric, and then that'll be reused to spend on the solar lighting that's going in the parking lot, which was much cheaper than in the original contract. So we're doing that, and then that'll leave a little bit of money left, either for other projects, or we may need that as we get into the final throes of the parking lot. The old historic gutters, and there's a couple other things that may come up here as we start to get towards the end. So, but between the savings here, we should be able to cover any overages on the other project.
Okay. Any other questions for Tony or the mayor on this? If not, can I get a motion to approve and accept the deductive change order number 2?
Make that motion.
All in favor? Aye. So moved. Next is any city matters, mayor update.
That's all right.
Not,
Ready?
not much, other than Ready. We were highly successful in Ready 1.0. The IEDC made awards to about 15 regions across the state. Last week, the largest amount you could be eligible for was $45 million. The Southern Indiana RDA, which Madison is part of that 5-county region, received a maximum award of $45 million. There were about 10 times that amount of money requested in the initial call for projects. So it's going to be highly competitive again. We have identified 10 projects that we've been working on in part of our Destination Madison plan. It's, as I mentioned earlier, it's housing, economic development, placemaking oriented. We'll be, over the course of the next couple of months, going through a refinement process. Once the application process opens with the RDA, and sometime this summer we'll learn what amount they'll be awarding, not only to Madison, but to other applicants in Jefferson County, which included Jefferson County Commissioners and Hanover College. And then, and they did separate Historical Society as well. So there's some very good projects in Jefferson County and all across the 5-county RDA. There's some very significant ones, not just in our county, but particularly in the Clark County area. So it'll be interesting to work through that process. And again, that's going to drive a lot of what we do from our planning, our redevelopment plan, and our financing plan, because a heavy element of READY is capital stacking. It's about bringing in approximately 80% of the source of funding for projects from sources other than the READY project. And we can count other investment in our community as one of those capital sources. So for example, the housing development, the shopping center, Chandler, all the new development that's happening in Madison, the expansion with Grody's line, for example, all of that helps our community. When we look at this as a plan, we show tremendous amounts of third-party private capital being invested in Madison, and that really supports our leveraging when we go to ask for the READY funds, and it drives down how much leverage we're asking for. So, for example, as I said, a typical portion of READY funds would be 20% of a project cost. In our Destination Madison plan, it was around 11%. So if we can drive that number down and get more private or other forms of capital, it makes our application score better. So we're going to be going through a lot of analysis to get to what we think is the sweet spot and submit that to the RDA for hopeful funding. But more will be known when we get to that point. We'll come back here and say, well, these are READY funds, but we still have these other very worthwhile projects that's in our redevelopment plan, and we'll go pursue them with different sources of capital, just like we have done for the last 4 years. And other than the tax draw I mentioned, we'll get our normal tax draw probably by the end of June, which it should be about $1 million for our RDC. That's about it. Other than that, we apologize for all the inconvenience, but it's for a good cause.
Okay.
All our new construction.
Just any updates on the grocery store and the sidewalk, Clifty Drive sidewalk, all those moving along?
Yeah, I can give a quick update on Dollar General. They have finished remediation and most of the demolition. Their prints are at the state this week for a state building review and building permit. So they're in that process. We will have our commitments to the developer done by late May, and he hopes to be open, and we're still targeting the late June, 4th of July holiday weekend for opening of the Dollar General Market. That may push a little bit, but we're in target for a summer opening of a new market. We expect the work in and around the Arts and Cultural District, which includes the Dollar General, to be done as well by that June timeframe. Clifty Drive is a state of Indiana project, which we participated in and you have invested in on the sidewalks. That project started today. The traffic changes and the lane closures along Clifty Drive will be with us for several months, so patience will be needed throughout the community as they travel through Madison, both on the hilltop and downtown with all the construction that we have going. So but it'll be an exciting opportunity for upgrades both to the paving, sidewalks, drainage, as well as traffic signalization, basically from right before right at Clifty Falls State Park on the west all the way to 421. So it'll be a really great overhaul of Clifty Drive.
Yeah, just on Clifty is a great example, which started out as a sidewalk project, a couple $1 million. The scope of the work had to be significantly expanded through right-of-way acquisition and stormwater. So then that became about a $3 million project. NDOT, we went back to NDOT for additional funding. They funded 80% of the cost increase. Then we knew that NDOT was also working on their own Clifty Drive project, so it became 3 projects instead of 1. So now it's a $12 million NDOT project that includes $3 million for our sidewalks. It's all happening at the same time. It's been completely planned, permitted, bid out, and now it's starting this week. So that has been several years in the making, and a little stressful at times because of the bidding environment we've been in. Initially, there were bids, no bids, then the bids were too high, so we went back out for bid. And but that's that's another way how we turned a $2 million project now a $12 million project is by working with NDOT and partnering with them. They'll also be doing some work on 421 that's in the planning stages. We're doing work on 421 in a different scope for our Crooked Creek flood mitigation planning. That's also underway, and just a tremendous amount of community crossing grant program for streets, sidewalks, curbs, gutters, placemaking through the Redevelopment Commission, and also with funding from Stellar. It's really popping all over town, but by midsummer, Costigan Park is going to be done, Crystal Beach is opening up, all the corridor improvements in our cultural arts district down here will be completed, and it's really going to look beautiful.
Yeah, I would, one of the things about the Mulberry Arts Corridor, which, you guys have invested in with the Dollar General Market, and the Kindness Mural Lot, along with Ready, there is, another about $570,000 being spent through CCMG, which is our Community Crossing Grant Program, to do the sidewalks, curbs, and gutters, and all the asphalt throughout that whole neighborhood. So that neighborhood will be completely redone from storefront to storefront throughout that whole district. And if you look at the private investment that's leveraging, you have, upwards of, $10 million in private investment. And 4 million of that has happened because they saw the city investing so heavily in that district, Vintage Lanes, and then another private developer doing a project. So it's exciting. It shows how investment and revitalization and redevelopment of a neighborhood can really start to turn the corner on making a great place. So again, that leveraging has been really, really important.
Awesome. Thank you for that update. Any other questions for Tony or the mayor? No. Next order of business is our May 14th meeting is going to be the next meeting, and if there's no other business, I get a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you.